Josh Regard from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And you knew this was coming. Now that I finally got my hands on the great Google Nexus 5, at least my first impressions, I was very impressed with the phone. Unfortunately, it's a little bit twisted, but now that I have my hands on the phone, I gotta drop it. And yes, we're gonna be dropping the white version of the Google Nexus 5. We're gonna see how it stands up to our drop test. It's a typical drop test, as you probably know by now. I'm gonna be dropping it on its back, on its bottom, and finally, on its face. Okay, here is our before shot, just showing you the phone in my hand right now. It's not the soft touch plastic that wraps around the phone all the way to the front, so we're not too sure if there's going to be separation in the panels. Android 4.4 KitKat running just fine on here, and we're about to get started on the test. So this is what the phone pretty much looks like in a pristine condition. I think it's drop test time. All right, just checking on my cameras. Here we go with the first test on the Google Nexus 5 falling right onto its back. So let's see what happens. On 3, 2, 1. So it looks like my dropping is not quite as good as it was in the last couple tests because it landed a little bit on its corner. But a concern that I had definitely came about in this particular test. The separation in the panels does cause the back cover to come off just a little bit after impacting on its corner. I wasn't able to get it to fall flat, but we still see some damage even though it landed on its corner, which probably was maybe a little bit worse. All right, we got damage on the bottom of the phone in the corner. The cover does snap right back in like I just did right now. So it does come back, there is scuffing on the corner. And the cover did start to separate, but I was able to get that right back in there. I have to drop it back on that particular spot again because we're gonna do our bottom test. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Looks like we have more scuffs on the bottom, but there really is no damage to at least the screen for now, and we didn't have a separation of the back once again. Now we're going to do the final test of the Google Nexus 5, and that's falling right onto its face. This is where some of the worst damage can possibly happen on the phone. From about chest level, in 3, 2, 1. Oof. A lot more damage than I had expected. I mean, I expected damage, but oh, this is not good at all. I was expecting the screen to crack, but I wasn't expecting the circuits to show up on the bottom like that. In just one drop, we've already exposed the inside of the phone. So you saw the before shot that I gave you of the phone working. Let's see if it still works. So there's the screen, it actually turns on, and there go the elements. So it's still operational to a fault. However, getting back down here is probably not that safe. And of course, you run the risk, as usual, of sort of nicking your thumb when you're swiping across the screen. For the most part, however, it looks like pretty much most, if not all, of the screen that needs to work is working. So maybe that is a plus, but still, this is really, really crazy. But the most impressive part about this phone is that despite all of that, it is still highly operational. I found really no parts of the screen that were inoperable. I found that pretty much everything worked. The cracks are below where the soft keys are, and I was actually very pleasantly surprised that this completely cracked screen still works actually quite about as much as you need it to. So with that being said, this drop test on the Google Nexus 5, kind of for the most part, it passes because it's still an operational phone even after all that we did to it. However, because of those blemishes down here, I do have to give it a bit of a because so much of it was exposed after just one drop. All right, guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. And I hope you enjoyed this drop test. If you did, drop us a like down below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Stay tuned to Android Authority for all of the best coverage, including everything that we have in store for you about the Google Nexus 5. Keep it tuned to this channel because we're your source for all things Android.